Alright, y'all, like, click, and subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This joint is called Sentinelle. And we ain't talking about no Sentinels from this classic mayhem. You already know what it is, but we ain't talking about that right now. Alright, so anyway. Transferred home after a traumatizing combat mission. A highly trained French soldier uses her lethal skills to hunt down the man who hurt her sister. So it's a French action-adventure film that just came out. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. So let's just get to it. Spoiler alert to the max. So I'm assuming we're starting off somewhere in Afghanistan. Looks like a bomb hit whatever city this is. So right off the back, we got a gun pointed to the back of this lady's neck. They're looking for her husband, but she's so scared to death she's not saying shit. Marla comes in and takes over and gets the information from her. She didn't want to tell her at first because she thought her son's life would be in jeopardy, and she reassures her that her son will be okay. See, Marla's part of the military, and she's trying to bring this war criminal down to justice. So they figure out his location, and she scouts across the building. But an explosion goes on over there, and she hears people screaming. So she's thinking to herself, something ain't right. So they go over there and catch the dude, but he not saying shit. The reason he ain't saying nothing is because it was an ambush, and then all those people started shooting. They eliminate the target, and then they find the boy. So as the colonel's near the boy, Ahmed pops out and says, "Do it, son." And I'm thinking to myself, oh shit. He's strapped with fucking dynamite. And before Marla can react, he detonates. Ridiculous explosion. That shit is wild. Now apparently this was a real mission that happened back in January 12th of 2015. So now she's heading back home to France. Look at that. It's beautiful out there. Yeah, she basically touches down and meets back up with her sister. She tells her that she's been transferred, but her sister's just glad to have Marla back home. They come back to the house to meet up with mom, and everybody's all good and gravy. Next day, she goes out by the beach going jogging, gets evaluated at the office, and gets back to work. She goes to the vault, gets her guns, and then rides out with the crew. And her job now is basically just to patrol the area. Now I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's just because there's money out there, but usually areas like that are controlled by security or just regular officers. I didn't know they did it with the military, but you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's just my ignorance. I don't know. Well, anyway, she's doing her patrol. She sees a book bag just laying over there, right? Now all the other officers are fine, but obviously, looking at her face, you can tell she's having flashbacks, you know what I'm saying? Obviously thinking to herself it could have been a bomb or anything, but it was just somebody's backpack, so, no worries. But like I said, I'm pretty sure she's having PTSD, along with a lot of other ailments. And they said she was in the military for like 6 years, so I'm pretty sure she went through a lot more than just that bomb explosion thing. That's a lot of trauma to go through. So in this scene, they get called on to some guys beating up a girl or whatever like that, and they get called into action. She tries to tell the guy the police have been notified, but he still continues to beat this girl. So then she goes over there and lays a smack down on him and drags him all through the grass. The beach and the water and stuff like that. And then the other officer tells him, we can't use that type of conduct over here while doing this. I'm like, well, what the fuck are you supposed to do in that situation then? Yeah. So she goes back home and gets some advice from her mom. Her sister comes out like, look, we still going to party tonight, and that's that. She tries to get some sleep, but she's still having nightmares about a lot of things that happened in the war, you know what I'm saying? She's taking all types of pills and stuff, and she can't stop her hand from shaking. Next day, they out on patrol again. And as she's scoping out the territory, she sees this one kid holding up his arms. Obviously, think about the kid that blew himself up. She drops to her knees. She clutches her head like she got a headache. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I'm thinking to myself, did they really evaluate her right? Because she's at the point where she probably should not be fit to be doing this job at this particular time. Later that night, she goes to some shady spot and asks this guy for some oxy and some codeine. To calm her nerves down or whatever. She takes that and then gets ready to go out with her little sis. Go out to some nightclub. Sis starts talking to this guy she knows named Ivan, and she goes off with him and some Russian guys, which leaves Marla on the dance floor with some random chick. They end up getting it in after that. Next morning, she gets a call she got to report into work. So she's working at the port dock and she sees some suspicious character with a hoodie on. So she starts chasing after him. She catches up to him, but come to find out, it's the same guy that sold her the oxy. Realizing all that, she decides to just let him go. So after patrolling most of the day, she gets a phone call. The phone call actually came from the hospital. It said it had something to do with her sister. She goes in and sees her sister beaten up and bruised. Come to find out, the doctor's test said that she was beaten, abused, verbally, and sexually assaulted. But before Marla can even give niggas the business, 2 cops come down and want to talk to her. But she kind of just brushes them off the moment she sees mom entering the hospital. So after all that, she still decides to go back to work. If you thought her mind state was off before, it's definitely off now. Don't ask me how, but she somehow convinced the crews that there were probably terrorists running around doing this in the club, at the Millennium Club they was at. So she asked them to check it out for a thorough investigation. She needed to see the camera footage, and she convinced the owner that it was a terrorist attack that happened there, so he ended up showing her the footage. But obviously, she just wanted to see her, the dude, and the other Russians that she was with so she could take pictures. Back at the hospital, watching her sister as she takes more pills. Then she talks to the officer about some footage and evidence she found. The lady says we're going to do everything in our power to question him and do all this other stuff, to get him behind bars and whatnot. The problem is this guy, Ivan, his father is Hugo. He's like a very rich man or whatever. And then on top of that, he has diplomatic immunity too. So bottom line, going through the legal system might not work. She might have to take justice into her own hands. And that's exactly what she's thinking about. So they just happen to be on the job to be patrolling Hugo's house. I'm like, really? A has snuck around the back to try to find this nigga. But the other officer catches her like, what the fuck are you doing? Once they get back to base, the other officer is like, man, can you not get high at work? Like, what are you doing? And she like, yeah, whatever. She go back to the same club to get a gin and tonic. But really, she's just looking for this nigga Ivan and she puts a knife to his face. She starts questioning him, but he's like, I'm gay. She's like, well, who raped my sister? And then some other niggas coming to fight break out. She whipped everybody's ass until the owner came in and kicked her out. She goes back home popping all that Xanny and codeine and all that good stuff. Yeah, I mean, she's just pretty much on that shit now, you know what I'm saying? She visits the hospital, kisses her sister, steals a gun from her job, and heads back over towards the house. But then she gets caught. They damn near trying to drown her ass. But no, they just torturing her right now because they trying to figure out, like, what the fuck is the deal? And here we have Hugo, and he flat out tells her what happened at the party. He's like, my son ain't had nothing to do with it. Matter of fact, it was all me. So somehow he explains himself and leaves into another room. The security guard loses his grip on her and he starts kicking his ass. And then she makes her escape. She goes back to work and gets a call from the hospital that her sister is finally awake. She tells her not to get revenge for her, you know what I'm saying? She don't want her mom's name dragged in through the mud and all that other stuff. But Marlo's like, no, we can't let him get away with this. I mean, he did this to you, he'll do this to others, you know what I'm saying? And besides, she ain't trying to hear that shit no way. So in the news, she hears about this nigga trying to go back to Russia and shit. Then all of a sudden, her sister starts having an aneurysm. So all of a sudden, she's like running through the hallway. Then she ends up downstairs in the basement. Then this random ass nurse comes out of nowhere trying to kill her. I'm like, where the fuck did she come from? Well, anyway, Marla ended up kicking her ass. But after she gets her passports from the house, the police show up to the fucking door. Well, anyway, she gets out of there. She goes to the spot. She finally gets some guns. But she actually steals them from dude. I'm like, damn. She tells him put them in the bag, get them loaded up. Cause she going hunting for bitch niggas. She sneaks up on the rooftop of the building where the guy's hiding at and gets ready for the final confrontation. She pretty much murks everybody in here, giving niggas the business. One particular scene, she got shot by hitting somebody and she was clutching her wrist and elbow and her stomach. But right after that, she was able to get back up and to continue walking up the steps like it wasn't shit. I'm like, you're just so badass you can't feel bullets anymore, huh? Like, word? So she finally found this bitch nigga. He's like, what do you want, money or something? And then she just kicks him over the balcony. He lands on the ground, done deal, dead. Then the son comes in thinking he's trying to get something. Then she turn around and busts this nigga flat in his eye. God damn, there's a fucking hole in it. Now she got hurt and get out of there because, you got task force coming around. But as we're leaving, we find out this motherfucker's still alive. 3 months later in Dubai, this motherfucker chilling. Got maids and servants with him and all that. But one particular maid came in to feed her breakfast, picked up a fork, and gave him the business. That nigga dead for real this time. Done deal, da-da-da-da. So yeah, Marla finally got his ass. She comes back to France and checks up on her sister from a distance, who we see by now is doing just fine. And that's Sentinelle for you. Maybe like 1 or 2 things kind of threw me off, but I overanalyze stuff, so you know. Sentinelle on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Slick D's, y'all, the Heezy, Mr. Big. You got a slogan.